From the Republic of Angola, Your Excellencies, I have the honor to introduce Honorable Ambassador Tete Antonio, Minister of External Relations, representing His Excellency João Manuel González Lourenço, President of the Republic of Angola. From the Union of Comoros, allow me, Your Excellencies, to introduce Honorable Vakil Vulkama, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, representing His Excellency Azali Assoumani, President of the Union of Comoros. From the Republic of Zambia, Your Excellencies, I'm honored to introduce His Excellency Ambassador Mansa Kapea, Ambassador of the Republic of Zambia to the Republic of Botswana and a representative to SADC. Your Excellencies, 8 years ago, in this same place, the SADC Summit made history by appointing the first female executive secretary of SADC. This morning, I'm honored to invite Her Excellency Dr. Stekomena Lawrence Tax to deliver her introductory remarks as we begin the opening session of our 41st SADC Summit of Heads of State and Government. Your Excellency Dr. Stekomena Lawrence Tax.
Your Excellency Filippo Jacinto Nyusi, President of the Republic of Mozambique and the Chairperson of SADC, Your Excellency Dr. Lazarus Makath Chakwera, President of the Republic of Malawi, the incoming Chairperson of SADC and our gracious host, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government and Representatives, Your Honor, the Vice President of Malawi, Honorable Ezhova Mkaka, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of the Republic of Malawi and the Chairperson of Council of Ministers, Your Excellency Musa Faki Mahat, Chairperson of the African Union Commission. He is not here with us, but he will be delivering his recorded remarks, and this is due to challenges posed by COVID-19. Your Excellency Dr. Vera Songwe, the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic Commission, she will also be delivering her recorded remarks, and we thank you for that. Honorable Ministers from SADC member states, Your Excellencies, Heads of region and international organizations, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, High Commissioners and members of the Diplomatic Corps, officials from SADC member states and SADC Secretariat staff, distinguished viewers who are viewing us from SADC region and beyond, partners from the media, ladies and gentlemen. I'm greatly humbled to stand before you to deliver some remarks this morning. May I begin by expressing our gratitude to His Excellency Dr. Lazarus Makath Chakwera, President of the Republic of Malawi, the government and people of Malawi for accepting to host this 41st SADC Summit and to take over the chairpersonship of SADC for 2021-2022. Since your meeting in August last year, the region has lost a number of leaders, including His Excellency Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, the first President of the Republic of Zambia, His Excellency Dr. John Pombe Joseph Magufuli, the fifth President of the United Republic of Tanzania, Sir Arnold Jaguar, the former Prime Minister of the Republic of Mauritius, and His Excellency Ambrose Dlamini, the then Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Eswatini, and a number of SADC citizens. May I extend our condolences to the government and peoples of Eswatini, Mauritius, Tanzania, and Zambia, Secretariat staff, and all SADC citizens who lost their loved ones. May their souls rest in eternal peace. Amen. Since August 2020, 3 member states conducted elections, and these are the Republic of Seychelles and the Republic of Zambia, the United Republic of Tanzania. May I congratulate the people and the governments of the Republics of Seychelles and Zambia and the United Republic of Tanzania for peaceful and successful elections. Your Excellencies, my journey as the SADC Executive Secretary began on the 18th of August 2013, when I was appointed and sworn in here, as it was indicated by the Director of Ceremony, in the city of Lilongwe, the warm heart of Africa. Having completed my tenure, God saw it fit that it is in this same city that my tenure ends and I hand over to my successor. Namshukuru sana Mwenyezi Mungu that it is started well and it is ending well here in Lilongwe. This being my last summit in my capacity as the SADC Executive Secretary, I stand in humility before you, Your Excellencies, to thank you profoundly for the confidence and trust that you bestowed on me to lead the SADC Secretariat and to serve the SADC region. I'm immensely grateful for the opportunity and for the guidance and support that you rendered to me during my tenure. I'm proud of what the region has achieved over the 8 years under Your Excellency's stewardship. I'm also grateful for the wealth, knowledge, and experience that I have acquired over the 8 years, which I always treasure. Pia naomba nichukue nafasi hii na nitoe shukrani zangu za kipekee na za dhati kwa serikali yangu, serikali ya Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania, kwa heshima kubwa ya kunipendekeza mimi kushika nafasi hii kati ya mamilioni ya Watanzania wenye sifa. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Rais, asante sana Watanzania. May I also thank ministers and officials from SADC member states, SADC partners, and stakeholders for the tremendous support accorded to me and my team since my appointment. Your Excellencies, SADC has come a long way since the days of liberation struggles, and we owe our cooperation, unity, and development to the founders of our great organization. Their sacrifices have enabled the level of transformation and the successes we are enjoying today. It is befitting that SADC recognizes their contribution, and in acknowledging their contributions, in August 2020, the SADC Summit approved a mechanism to honor the founders of SADC. May I implore SADC member states to operationalize the mechanism, which will ensure that the history of SADC and the legacy of our SADC founders remain engraved in the history of our organization and is imparted to the generations to come. The Hashim Mbita publication was also launched in 2014, and it documents authentically the history of the Southern Africa liberation struggles, and it is also an important reference for SADC history. The publication is now available in full in English, French, and Portuguese, while Swahili volumes will also be available soon. In the same breath, the journey that the organization has traveled over 40 years of its existence since the establishment of the Southern Africa Development Coordination Conference with SADC with double C in April 2020 has also been documented in a SADC at 40 publication that was launched by the chairperson of SADC, His Excellency President Nyusi, in June 2021. The publication presents 4 decades of lessons and successes. We all need to be proud of the contributions that we have all made toward the advancement of SADC development and the integration agenda, and they use the lessons to drive our organization forward and to keep the organization relevant. May I encourage all to take time to read and use these publications and preserve SADC values and the long and inspiring history of SADC. A nation or a region that does not premise its future on its values and history journeys on a very bumpy and dangerous road. Your Excellencies, as I exit, the region remains generally stable with some areas of turbulence that we need to continue to manage collectively as we have always done. And these include unemployment, poverty, disasters, pandemics, acts of terrorism, violence, and the cybersecurity threats. The region needs to remain alert while strengthening mechanisms put in place to address these threats. On the social and economic front, the region has made notable strides in terms of microeconomic convergence, industrialization, SADC intra-trade, regional connectivity, access to energy, financial integration and inclusion, and the mobile penetration. While the region progressed well in terms of microeconomic convergence over the years, it has been severely hit by dual shock of COVID-19 and the fall in commodity prices. The impact of COVID-19 has exerted more pressure on the already weak regional economy, resulting in significant deterioration in physical position and the elevated debt sustainability risks. Member states are therefore encouraged to continue with the ongoing fiscal and monetary measures. In the energy sector, Your Excellencies, during the period of 2014 to 2020, the commissioned power generation in the region increased to 19,738 megawatts, translating into 9% of the targeted capacity of 22,000 megawatts. Access to electricity at weighted average increased from 36% in 2014-2015 to more than 50% in 2020-21. The target is to reach at least 85% in 2030, in line with the Regional Indicative Strategic Development Plan 2020-2030. The share of renewable energy also increased from 22% in 2015-2016 to 32% 2019-2020. Energy traded through bilateral agreement also increased from 4,761 gigawatt hours in 2014-2015 to 7,992 gigawatt hours in 2018-2019, and it dropped slightly to 5,642 gigawatt hour in 2020-2021. The share of the monthly volumes traded through competitive Southern Africa power pool market also increased from 10% in 2014-2015 to the highest level of 33% recorded in 2019-2020. Sadly, the traded volumes have been affected by decreasing demand since March 2020 as a result of COVID-19. There has also been significant progress in SADC mobile penetration. All SADC member states have established at least 2 cross-border terrestrial optical fiber links for regional and international transit traffic. And the SADC mobile penetration has increased from 60% in 2012 and currently stands at 77.4%, with 5 member states exceeding 100% mobile penetration. The SADC internet user penetration has also increased from 4% in 2012 to 22.9% in 2020. In terms of coverage of mobile service, the SADC average population coverage by mobile networks is 88%, whereas the SADC average population coverage by at least 3 giga mobile is 80% and 54% for 4 giga mobile network. The SADC region accounts for 57% share of 46 internet exchange points in Africa. These milestones are also contributing to our digitization efforts. Notable progress has also been recorded in the financial integration and inclusion. The SADC remittance gross settlement has lower transaction costs and it has removed the need for correspondent banks. As of June 2021, a total of 83 participating banks from 15 SADC member states except the Comoros were electronically linked to effect cross-border payment and settlement in real time. And I believe that we have all seen the benefit of this system. From July 2019 to June 2021, total number of transactions settled reached $591.38 billion. In the area of financial inclusion, the implementation of SADC financial inclusion strategy and the SME access to finance 2016-2020, which was approved in 2026 is ongoing. As of December 2020, 68 of adults in the region were financially included, both formal and the informal sectors, which is around 97 million individuals. In terms of gender split, it is 67% female and 7% male, which is almost the same. Intra-SADC trade has been fluctuating from 21% in 2016, slowing down to 20% in 2017, and 19% in 2018. To address this, a number of measures are in place, notably through the SADC industrialization strategy and roadmap 2015-2063 and the SADC mining vision 20 and action plan 2019, which were approved in 2015 and 2019 respectively, and a number of frameworks have been put in place and value chains developed. Nonetheless, the implementation needs to be accelerated. The structure of SADC economies remain underdiversified with a growing natural resource-based sectors, in particular agriculture and mining, that still account for an average of 25% of gross domestic product, while manufacturing sector contribution to GDP has remained at around 13%. The SADC industrialization strategy and roadmap, Your Excellency, that articulates a coherent approach, therefore remains relevant and a high priority on the SADC integration agenda. The late Mwalimu Nyerere once said, the more varied the industrialization base in an area, the more prosperous can the people throughout. End of quote. Your Excellencies, the region has encountered various disasters of varying proportions. These include El Nino-induced drought in 2016, the devastating tropical cyclone Idai, Challenge and Eloise between 2019 and 2020, and the current COVID-19 pandemic. His Excellency Thabo Mbeki, the former President of the Republic of South Africa, once said, I quote, "Trying times need courage and resilience. Our strength as a people is not tested during the best of our times." End of quote. Your Excellencies, I'm proud and very proud of SADC courage and resilience and the unity we are confronted by such adversities. SADC has put in place measures to collectively address such challenges, which include the SADC preparedness and response mechanism, which has a number of instruments. Ongoing work to operationalize these instruments therefore need to be finalized expeditiously. Regional health security is critically important to our region. and based on the lessons learned from COVID-19 pandemic, concrete measures that will ensure health security in terms of sustainable availability of health products and commodities and the vaccines are urgently needed. And as such, the need to continue enhancing local manufacturing of capacities of such commodities. Your Excellencies, whereas funding of regional programs and activities remains a challenge, SADC has been able to undertake critical activities using own resources. These include the deployment of SADC preventive mission to the Kingdom of Lesotho and the deployment of SADC standby force to Mozambique. And this we have been able to use resources from SADC Contingent Fund that was approved in 2012 and operationalized in 2015. The construction of SADC Logistical Depot, which started in April 2018, is also going on using contributions by member states. While we pride ourselves for these achievements, it should be noted that sustainable financing of regional programs remain a priority if we are to accelerate regional integration. Hence the need to fast-track the operationalization of the Regional Development Fund, whose agreement was approved in 2016, and the Regional Resource Mobilization Framework that was approved in 2019. Your Excellencies, I am and I will forever be proud of the unity demonstrated by SADC member states. It gives me a sense of belongingness and identity. I remember how fondly the founding president of the Republic of Tanzania, Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere, preached the gospel of unity in Southern Africa throughout his life. In December 1980 in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, he said, "We have been united in struggle for freedom. We are united in the freedom of political independence. We shall go forward in unity in the struggle of economic liberation and progress. We shall go forward together, the free states of Southern Africa, to build Southern Africa, free Southern Africa in unity." End of quote. I wish to reiterate and reinforce Mwalimu's message and encourage member states to remain united in confronting challenges experienced in the region and ensure SADC remains the beacon of peace, hope, peace and security and stability, and the shining example of economic development. Just like it was the case during the years of struggle, the liberation of Southern African countries, whenever SADC proclaims its position in unity, the world listens. When SADC united to affirm its position on the removal of sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe, on the self-determination of people of Western Sahara, on non-interference of internal affairs of Venezuela, the world listened attentively. This is the case even at the continental level. You may recall our regional unity in driving the SADC on the agenda on African Union institution reform, the unity on the reconfiguration of forced intervention brigade in the DRC, the unity in resolving political and security challenges in the eastern part of the DRC, the Republic of Madagascar and the Kingdom of Lesotho, and the support of the Republic of Mozambique to combat terrorism. This notwithstanding, it is worth noting that we are currently confronted by different challenges altogether. Let us sustain and strengthen our position in unity and avoid being fragmented and marginalized. As stronger, we will continue to stand, while divided we stumble and fall. Challenges of today, Your Excellencies, are different and complex, and sometimes may not seem to be visible, but are real, requiring to remain vigilant and united. May I thank our leaders and all of us for committing to SADC solidarity. As I look back, I visualize the unique and famous 2019 picture of female leaders in Africa and SADC. Her Excellency Joyce Banda, the then President of the Republic of Malawi and Chairperson of SADC. Her Excellency Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, the former Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Justice Anastasia Msosa, and they are there who was the Chief Justice of Malawi at the time, and I being celebrated as the Executive Secretary of SADC. This was the pinnacle of women empowerment. It was a picture of the first. The first female president of Malawi, the first female chairperson of the Commission of African Union, and the first Chief of Justice of Malawi. As the sixth executive secretary, but the first female executive secretary. As I hand over, I look back, I note with satisfaction the progress made in empowering women, both economically and in leadership positions. We have a number of female leaders in various positions, including the first female president in the United Republic of Tanzania, Her Excellency Suluhu Hassan of the United Republic of Tanzania, who has demonstrated beyond any doubt that women are capable of steering nations without outstanding and exemplary leadership and the wisdom. May be she supported by all of us, internationally, regionally, and nationally. Na pia kwa Kiswahili kwamba Mheshimiwa Rais Suluhu Hassan ambaye ni rais wa kwanza mwanamke katika Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania amethibitisha bila wasiwasi wowote kuwa wanawake wana uwezo mkubwa wa kuongoza mataifa kwa umahiri na busara. Tuendelee kumuunga mkono kimataifa, kikanda na kitaifa. May I also add my voice, the voices of women empowerment advocates, in calling for sustained and accelerated progress in women empowerment. I'm confident that the region is set to get more female presidents, more female chairperson of the African Union, more female SADC executive secretaries, and many more in leadership positions. There is still ground to be covered, but I'm confident that with the excellent leadership and the commitment that the region has, it will be achieved. The fund organization is grounded on social policies and strategies. As I exit, I'm thankful to SADC member states and all stakeholders for taking part in the formulation of SADC Vision 2050 and the SADC Regional Indicative Strategic Development Plan 2020-2030, which were approved in August 2020. It is therefore imperative that these policies are used to transform our region to the SADC we want. I'm confident that the Secretariat under my successor will drive regional integration through this strategic framework for the betterment of the region. Your Excellencies, as I conclude, allow me to affirm that our region needs a dynamic, effective, and efficient Secretariat. A vibrant and a dynamic Secretariat facilitate a vibrant SADC region. I profoundly thank my Deputy Executive Secretaries, the management team, and the entire Secretariat staff for supporting me to realize the objectives of the region and what was expected of us as servants of the region. The recorded achievements are a result of a wonderful team of dedicated professionals who gave their best in ensuring that we succeed. I'm leaving office with a deep sense of fulfillment. Thank you, SADC Secretariat team. I'll forever cherish you and remain indebted. As I bid farewell, I wish my successor the best and assure him or her, because we are yet to know who is my successor, my full support and the humble request that we all support him or her. A human, Your Excellencies, I may have erred. Where I erred, it was not intentional, and I sincerely beg for your understanding and forgiveness. Naondoka pia wakati Kiswahili kimekubalika kuwa moja ya lugha za SADC. Nafarijika sana kama mwana SADC kwa kutambua mchango wa lugha ya Kiswahili katika ukombozi kusini mwa Afrika. na kama Mtanzania, kwani Kiswahili ni lugha ya taifa langu. Katika mkutano wa baraza la mawaziri uliotangulia mkutano huu, Tanzania ilitumia Kiswahili muda wote na wakarimani walitafsiri kwa ufasaha. It is not easy to present the achievement made by SADC in 15 minutes. I just assure SADC that when our leaders meet during summits, they take stock of progress made and they provided the needed guidance. And this is what has enabled SADC to achieve the visible results that continue to benefit the region. Let us continue believing in our leaders. Asanteni sana waheshimiwa wakuu wa nchi. Mwenyezi Mungu aendelee kuwaongoza na kuwazidishia hekima. I thank you very much. Merci beaucoup, Monto Obrigado. Asanteni sana, vikomo kwa mbili. And once again, I really am profoundly grateful for this very rare occasion for me being the Executive Secretary of SADC. It will remain in my memory. I always cherish the memorable memories. Thank you very much.
Na mtazamaji, kama umefungulia runinga yako, haya ni matangazo ya moja kwa moja kutoka pale mjini Lilongwe, ambapo mkutano wa 41 wa Jumuiya Maendeleo ya Kusini mwa Afrika SADC unaendelea, na aliyetoka kuzungumza hapo ni aliyekuwa katibu mtendaji wa sekretariati ya SADC Dr. Stagomena Lawrence Taxi, ambaye katika hotuba yake anuari ameongea vitu vingi, ameelezea kwanza nafasi ambayo aliweza kupewa hiyo ya ukatibu mtendaji, lakini na mafanikio ambayo SADC imeyapata katika kipindi chake cha uongozi na changamoto ambazo bado SADC inakabiliana nazo, lakini pia imefikia hatua kama
kama miaka 8 katika ofisi, unawakumbuka vitu vingi, unawakumbuka waliofanya nao kazi na unaondoka, lakini pia ni nafasi kubwa kama alivyosema, na hii ni nafasi ambayo kusaka kwake ni kubwa, kwa hiyo lazima isizijize. Bakari
yako pende kuzungumza na, lakini hebu tuendelee Rais wa Malawi sasa anakaribishwa, ambaye ndiye atakayependa kupewa kijiti cha mwenyekiti, anakwenda kutoa hotuba sasa hivi.
Your Excellency, Filipe Nyusi, President of the Republic of Mozambique and outgoing Chairperson of SADC, Your Excellency Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi, President of the Republic of Botswana and outgoing Chairperson of the Organ on Politics, Defense and Security Cooperation, Your Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa and incoming Chairperson of the Organ on Politics, Defense and Security Cooperation, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Your Honor Dr. Charles Klaus Chilima, Vice President of the Republic of Malawi, all the representatives of heads of state and government, Honorable Eisenhower Mkaka, MP, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Malawi and Chairperson of the SADC Council of Ministers, all the cabinet ministers from the SADC region, Your Excellency Dr. Stagomena Lawrence Tax, SADC Executive Secretary, Your Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Your Excellency Dr. Vera Songwe, Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, Your Excellency Dr. Ekwemi Adesina, President of the African Development Bank, Your Excellencies, heads of regional and international organizations, Your Excellencies, head of mission and members of diplomatic corps, distinguished delegates, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, and all protocols observed. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Your Excellencies and distinguished delegates to Malawi, the warm heart of Africa. We are deeply honored to host the 41st Ordinary Session of the Summit of Heads of State and Government of the Southern Africa Development Community, SADC. As we say in Malawi, when we welcome special guests, takulandirani, dimanja awiri. I'm really happy to see all of you, Excellencies, here in Lilongwe, despite the challenges posed by COVID-19 pandemic. Your attendance of the summit signifies your strong commitment to the region's development agenda. Malawi is your home, and it has to be, as this is what our founding fathers envisioned when they decided to establish SADC as a community. When we gather like this, we gather as elders of the same village whose people draw water from the same well and sit for meals under the same hut. Excellencies, this year's summit is of particular significance as it comes at a time when the SADC region, just like any other part of the world, has been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. Since the pandemic has either stalled or reversed the progress we had made in our regional integration agenda, gains that took years and sweat to achieve, we gather here with a shared sense of urgency to revitalize our economies. As we seek to do this, we must redouble our efforts in the areas where we can register quick gains. Chief among them is the fostering of an environment for the creation of jobs for young people across the region, which we must do as a matter of urgency. Toward that end, our convergence here must result in revitalized trade across our borders, enhanced industrial production within our border, and accelerated recovery of key sectors like tourism in the wake of the pandemic. But we must remember that the pandemic is not merely a challenge to be navigated, but a problem to be resolved. And the revival of our economies depends on our collective ability to dispose of this existential threat. It is therefore imperative that we keep up and step up the efforts that we are making as SADC to comply with the guidelines we already have for stopping this pandemic in its tracks. Because we have a long history of overcoming serious challenges together, there is no reason we cannot overcome this challenge and build our region back better. And this summit is precisely the occasion to which we must rise and come up with lasting solutions to this challenge and its adverse effects on our peoples and economies. One such solution is the successful rollout of a region-wide vaccination program. The efforts made thus far by member states are worthy of applause, but we all know that we are far from the desired goal of reaching herd immunity and reducing high transmission rates. We must therefore tackle the roadblocks standing in the way of our quest to reach this goal. One critical roadblock we must confront is the toxic nationalism that is causing some nations in the world to hoard millions of vaccine doses and deny other nations access to the same. And similarly, we must confront the toxic nationalism that is causing some regions in the world to deny other regions like SADC the rights to produce vaccines for their own populations. This pandemic is a global health crisis, not a national one. And as SADC, we must stand united in opposing all forms of vaccination, hampering our ability to recover from it. As you already know, this pandemic has exacerbated the effects of yet another existential threat to our regional integration agenda we have been facing for years, namely climate change, which now accounts for many national disasters in our region. I have in mind disasters like Cyclone Idai, which claimed thousands of lives and defeated our efforts to eradicate poverty, food insecurity, and infrastructural underdevelopment. As we speak, unusual climate patterns continue to displace communities and destroy crops, causing great suffering to our peoples. As SADC, we must speak with one voice and employ a common strategy to address this threat, especially as we approach COP26 in November 2021. Excellencies, a third threat to our regional integration agenda must be we must collectively be vigilant against is regional insecurity. If we are going to have sustainable and inclusive development, the entire region must be peaceful and secure. This is why we as SADC are right to be proactive in taking bold steps to arrest any emerging pockets of instability. We must never apologize for being decisive in this matter or for addressing the peace and security of all our member states with the urgency we accord to our own. However, we need to remember that maintaining our region's peace and security goes beyond remedial efforts to end the pockets of conflict. Rather, it requires the sustenance of democratic norms, the protection of human rights, and the strengthening of governance institutions. These are the soils in which the seeds of peace and security flourish. For this reason, the pattern of peaceful transitions of power we have been seeing in our region in recent years, the Republic of Zambia being the latest member to embody that, are worthy of global acclaim and our applause. To all the leaders and people of Zambia, we say thank you. Excellencies, I mentioned these three threats to regional integration efforts to motivate you to stay the course. The key pillars of regional integration must be pursued, and the goal of regional integration must be attained. We all agree that if we truly want inclusive and sustainable economic transformation across SADC, then regional integration is non-negotiable. We must enhance cross-border trade and investment in our region through the existing SADC mechanisms and, where need be, introduce new ones. We must fully embrace industrialization as the most effective means of achieving the main goals of SADC, namely increased economic productivity, stronger regional integration, and reduced poverty for people living in the region. We must facilitate the free movement of our peoples in a manner commensurate with our shared conviction that we are truly a community of shared values and shared interests. Excellencies, it is therefore in that spirit of community that I once again welcome you and all delegates to the warm heart of Africa. This is your home. Please enjoy the warmth and friendliness of our people. I can assure you that the government and the people of Malawi are delighted to host you, and we are at your disposal to ensure that your stay is pleasant enough to make you want to come back. For my part, I not only wish you all successful for the first ordinary session of the summit, the heads of state and government of SADC, but also fruitful deliberations towards the SADC we want. Thank you for your attention. Muito obrigado. Merci beaucoup. Asante sana. Ziko Mokambi.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Dr. Lazarus McCarthy Chakwera, the incoming chairperson of SADC and host of the 41st SADC Summit of Heads of State and Government, for your welcome remarks. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is always a tradition that at the ordinary SADC Summit of Heads of State and Government, heads of continental organizations are invited to attend and address the summit. Your Excellencies, this year, due to the challenges posed by COVID-19, the heads of continental organizations could not come physically to be present here in Lilongwe to attend this summit. We therefore requested that they provide their recorded remarks to deliver their statements to the heads of state and government attending this 41st SADC Summit of Heads of State and Government. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present a recorded video statement by His Excellency Musa Faki Muhammad, Chairperson of the African Union Commission. May I invite you to watch the statement from the AUC Chairperson. Thank you, Your Excellencies.
His Excellency Philippe Nyusi, President of the Republic of Mozambique and Chair of SADC. His Excellency Felix Tshisekedi, President of the Democratic Republic of Congo and current Chair of the African Union. Excellencies, Head of State and Government, Your Excellency Dr. Stragomena Tax, Executive Secretary of SADC, distinguished delegates. It gives me great pleasure to address this August Assembly on the occasion of the 41st Summit of SADC Head of State and Government. At the outset, allow me to congratulate His Excellency Philippe Jacinto Nyusi, President of the Republic of Mozambique and outgoing chairperson of SADC for the stellar job during his term. In the same vein, we welcome His Excellency Lazarus Chikwera, President of the Republic of Malawi, as incoming chair. I also wish to warmly congratulate my sister, Dr. Estrogomena Trax, for her leadership as Executive Secretary of the SADC and her strong contribution to the development of her tenure. The theme of this summit, bolstering productive capacities in the face of COVID-19 pandemic, sustainable transformation, would not have come at a more appropriate time. This theme aptly captures the multifaceted and complex nature of the challenging facet of our collective human security on the continent today. In this regard, I am pleased to see that SADC's efforts are fully consistent with the approach of the African Union Commission. The COVID-19 pandemic has led to the worst health and economic crisis in recent history, threatening to reverse the hard-won socio-economic gains made in the last decade. Our concerted efforts are therefore needed to accelerate the structural transformation of our economies in order to achieve stronger, more resilient economic growth that creates opportunities for all segments of our populations, especially for women and young people. We need strong investment in the operationalization of the African Continental Trade-Free Area, AfCFTA, and regional infrastructure, as well as all other flagship projects expressed in the AU Agenda 2063. Excellencies, looking back to the past year, we have seen the devastating impact of the pandemic on our member states. And yet, we have also seen unprecedented levels of cooperation and coordination. As you are aware, the African Union Commission continues to implement the continental COVID-19 strategy. In this regard, let me express my sincere gratitude to His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa for his exceptional leadership in overseeing the continental COVID-19 response last year in his capacity as the chairperson of the African Union and as he continues to do so as the continent's COVID-19 champion. Furthermore, President Ramaphosa's advocacy, together with AU special envoys, with multilateral financial institutions in regards to economic stimulus products and debt relief for our economies, represents a critical component of our continental response and recovery strategy. But our continental resilience also had to contend with unexpected global vaccine discrimination. To date, Africa has vaccinated less than 2% of its populations due to a lack of manufacturing capacity and, more importantly, the continued inequality to equitable access to available global vaccine stocks. While this represents a failure in international cooperation during a global pandemic, it is also a stark reminder for the continent to accelerate its economic integration to better ensure its own public health security. Africa CDC, our continental agency for pandemic response, has shown through its outstanding leadership and capacity to lead in this regard. Of equal importance is the establishment of the African Medicines Agency in order to improve the continent's manufacturing capacity of essential medicines. I urge all SADC member states who have not yet done so to ratify this important AU instrument for it to enter into force. The SADC region is an example of a strong regional integration and cooperation. further demonstrated by the strong regional support to fellow member state Mozambique in fighting terrorism and promoting regional peace and stability, together with bilateral support from the government of Rwanda. This strategy, underpinned by Pan-African solidarity, is the basis of our vision for a united, prosperous, and peaceful continent. This pandemic has demonstrated once more the necessity for continental and regional integration in order to rebuild back better for the socio-economic well-being of our citizens while ensuring peace and security. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, I wish to commend SADC for the achievements it has realized for its people thus far. I also commend you for the solid working relationship with the African Union Commission, particularly in the area of elaborating a clear division of labor between the AU, the REX, and member states. It is clear that member states, through the respective REX, as is the case with the SADC region, developed even stronger and more resilient regional value chains in the key area of agriculture, industry, and services in order to jumpstart our economies and the livelihoods of our people. With those few words, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you very fruitful deliberations during this important regional assembly.
Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the second to present the recorded statement is Her Excellency Dr. Vera Songwe, who is the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, UNECA. Thank you, Your Excellencies.
President of the Republic of Malawi, Your Excellencies, Heads of States and Government, Your Excellency Dr. Stergomena Tax, Executive Secretary of SADC, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, it is a great pleasure and honor to be here at the 41st SADC Summit being held under the theme Fostering Productive Capacities in the Face of COVID-19 Pandemic for Inclusive, Sustainable Economic and Industrial Transformation. I would like to thank His Excellency President Lazarus Chakwera and the Government of Malawi for the splendid arrangements made to ensure the success of this meeting despite the difficult circumstances. I would also like to express my profound gratitude to my sister Dr. Stergomena Tax, Executive Secretary of SADC, for according me a standing invitation to SADC Summit, an honor and a privilege I greatly cherish. Thank you. The theme of this summit speaks directly to what the SADC region must do to build forward better and stronger, to industrialize, not just in any way, but in a way that is sustainable and in a way that is inclusive. Before the crisis, SADC was already one of the most unequal regions in the world. Today, with the crisis, we see inequality deepening. As the Economic Commission for Africa, we have been working very closely with the SADC region to ensure that as we put together a plan for building forward better, this plan is more inclusive and more sustainable. COVID-19 dealt a severe blow, particularly to the Southern Africa region. We know that towards the end of July, we had about 3.2 million cases of COVID with almost 88,000 deaths. I want to take this opportunity to thank particularly, of course, President Cyril Ramaphosa for putting together the African Vaccines Acquisition Task Team, which helped, and I am privileged to be part of that task team under the leadership of the Special Envoy Strive Masiwia, where we've been able to procure 400 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine, Johnson & Johnson, for the continent, and we hope we can do more. We know that the first way out of this crisis is through vaccinations, but not only do we need vaccinations, we also need to produce on the continent. The SADC region is demonstrating its capacity to do that by starting in South Africa with the production of vaccines in South Africa. This is for us as a continent, I think a first demonstration that Africa working together, coming together, can effectively build forward better sustainably in the crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, this crisis will affect us in many ways and will take a long time for us to get out of it, because it is the first crisis, it's the first recession Africa has suffered in 25 years, according to the IMF. The IMF also suggests that Africa, and particularly the developing world, will need about $345 billion to get out of this crisis, or just to meet, to be able to attain its levels of growth that it had before. This is a substantial amount of resources that are going to be required. Today we know that revenues have fallen because a lot of our businesses have stopped. We know that tourism has taken a huge hit. We know that our service sector is suffering. And so meetings like this really are meetings where we need to sit and start thinking, how do we come back better? 2 or 3 things have been positive during this crisis period. One of them has been the use of internet technology. We've gone from about 17% to 24% connectivity on the internet. Many more people have access to the internet, but many more is from 17 to 24. We still have a huge part of our populations that do not have access to the internet, which has further exacerbated the inequalities that I spoke about before. We hope that our leaders, our leaders gathered here today, will ensure that we can increase connectivity in the continent, particularly for women and girls. About 330 million young kids have been out of school because of the COVID crisis. If they had access to the internet, of course they would be able to continue their education. At the Economic Commission for Africa, one of the things that we have done is launch, in coordination with the African Continental Free Trade Area, on how we can actually begin to do pool procurement. And I must say, this is an idea that was taken out of the SADC region, with again, you leaders beginning to push for pool procurement in many areas of Africa's development for diversification. The African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement talks about building and strengthening supply chains. At the Economic Commission for Africa, we decided to bring together these 2 concepts of building supply chains across the continent, but also doing pool procurement to see how we can strengthen our health services, ensure that we produce more drugs on the continent, not just vaccines. Prior to the COVID-19 crisis, Africa was already importing over 90% of its health commodities, many things that we could produce on the continent: syringes, gloves, sterilizers, alcohol, of course, oxygen tanks. We now know on the continent that we can produce them, from Senegal to Rwanda to Morocco, of course, in the SADC region as well. A lot of that is taking place. How can we bring that together to ensure that we do this in a way that works not just for the big businesses, but also for small and medium enterprises? Because as we know, our recovery, our building forward better is going to and must include small and medium enterprises, must include women, must include those that have been left behind. Finally, climate change has been, and we're talking, of course, in the presence of His Excellency President Filipe Nyusi. Africa today spends somewhere between 5 to 11% of its GDP reacting to climate events. The Economic Commission for Africa has been privileged working with the African Union again to launch the African Green Recovery Strategy. That Green Recovery Strategy has components on energy, of course, on managing our natural ecosystems, on using nature-based solutions, first to protect our environment, but also to produce jobs. Of course, in agriculture, where we have 70% of our rural populations, ensuring that we can do more productive, more efficient, and more accessible agriculture, which is more sustainable, is going to be an important component of a green strategy going forward. A green strategy going forward also includes tourism, but it includes tourism that is done differently. In the SADC region, we have done a couple of studies with the Oxford University that show that if, for example, South Africa were to embrace a build forward better green recovery strategy, they will be able to create 420% more jobs, 320% more value added in the manufacturing sector. So there is value in looking at how one builds forward better under a sustainable, more green economy. The the Economic Commission for Africa continues to stand ready to work, of course, with the member states to see how we can continue to build on this strategy, to look for ways in which we can reduce the inequalities that we face across the continent, but in the SADC region in particular. And finally, that we are able to, with the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, restore growth, restore prosperity, and build a future that is shared and common across all of our countries. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. That was Dr. Vera Songwe, who is the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, UNECA. Your Excellencies, we are going to take a break from speeches and be treated to a cultural performance, which is going to be done by Here As Children. Thank you, Your Excellencies.
Ladies and gentlemen, I stand here before you not only as president, but as a chair of every country in this region. We are all one. Nobody is different from another. So let's build a good destiny of our region together. Our destiny is not a matter of chance, but choice is not something to be worried for. Rather something to be achieved. Thank you.
that was a performance from Hearers Children, and Your Excellencies, I'll not be able to translate everything, but they are welcoming you to the home heart of Africa. Thank you. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, every year during the SADC Summit of Heads of State and Government, we get an opportunity to listen to the maiden speeches from heads of state and government who assume their leadership positions after the preceding summit. This year, we are once again honored to have two heads of state to address this 41st SADC Summit of Heads of State and Government, having assumed their positions after the last summit held in August 2020. First, Your Excellencies, to address this 41st SADC Summit of Heads of State and Government will be His Excellency Wavel Ramkarani, President of the Republic of Seychelles, who was sworn in as President on 22nd October 2020. And due to the challenges posed by COVID, he couldn't make it to Lilongwe to attend physically this summit. And he provided a recorded maiden speech, which we are going to play in a moment. May I request Your Excellencies to watch as we play the maiden speech from His Excellency Wavel Ramkarani, President of the Republic of Seychelles. Thank you.
Your Excellency President Lazarus Chakwera, Chairperson of the 41st Summit of Heads of State and Government, colleague Heads of State and Government, Honorable Ministers, Madam Executive Secretary of SADC, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. There is no greater test of character of a leader than that which calls upon us to make difficult and justified decisions for the betterment of our people, but also to discard inaction as the undoing of even the most well-thought-out plans. With these words, I would like to pay tribute to the exceptional African leaders who have recently passed. The late President John Pombe Magufuli was an extraordinary leader and a true visionary. His for the people of the United Republic of Tanzania bears true testament to his lasting legacy. To our brother Prime Minister Pravin Jagnnath, your late father Sir Anirudh Jagnnath commands our respect and our admiration. Mauritius is a shining beacon today because of Sir Anirudh's sterling leadership that saw the transformation of the Mauritian society. Let us also pay a special tribute to the loss of the last founding father of SADC and a true African icon, the late Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. His everlasting legacy should serve as an inspiration for today's African leaders to continue to honor his vision of a unified and prosperous Africa. Mr. Chair, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in the midst of one of the most challenging times in our history, it is a privilege to address this assembly for the first time since being elected by the Seychellois people as their president back in October 2020. It is the first time that I address you, but not the first time that I participate in the work of SADC. During my time as the leader of the opposition, my crossing of the desert, if you will, I served as chairperson of the Democracy, Governance and Human Rights Standing Committee of the SADC Parliamentary Forum from 2018 to 2020. I also participated in a number of its other activities, even serving as the chair of all chairpersons, having the great role of overseeing model laws for the forum. the values and principles for which SADC stands and which it promotes and defends inspired me to bring real change, real democracy to my country. Seychelles owes much to SADC for this, in the same way that we are indebted to our regional organization for its contribution to our peaceful and exemplary transition from one administration to another. The values and principles which we share continue to shape the direction of our regional integration agenda. We are guided by the belief that we can create a region in which cooperation rather than conflict drives progress, stability, and prosperity for all of us. In this context, we thank wholeheartedly the distinguished leaders who participated in the most recent extraordinary SADC summit of heads of state in Maputo, Mozambique. This reaffirms our region's commitment to tackling terrorism head-on and ensuring lasting peace. This terrorism threat cannot be underestimated. We are all too aware of the risk of a spillover into other territories, as we are aware of the havoc, the indescribable pain and suffering on the Cabo Delgado region itself. We must remain vigilant and focus on identifying opportunities, practical solutions, and more importantly, be action-oriented. For this reason, we reaffirm our stance that there needs to be a harmonization of policies as opposed to the implementation of fragmented policies, as has been the case in some instances. Maritime security may seem to be a somewhat distant concept to some of us on the mainland. But let me reassure you all that the protection of our waters must be a concern to all of us. The Western Indian Ocean maritime route accounts for 12% of the global world trade, and the protection of this important route means protecting our very livelihood. Moreover, we need to take cognizance of the fact that the proliferation of illicit drugs and weapons and the trafficking of persons transported via maritime routes are undermining the internal and regional security of all Eastern African states. All reports suggest that terrorist groups are funding their activities and enhancing capacities through such illicit maritime activities. Once again, the issue of maritime security cannot be overstated and needs to feature prominently on our security agenda. Mr. Chair, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, having served as chair of the Democracy, Governance and Human Rights Standing Committee of the SADC-PF, I find to transform the SADC Parliamentary Forum into the SADC Parliament as an important development to elevate the level of engagement and enhance the political and democratic discourse within our region. The establishment of the SADC Parliament will transcend political cooperation and will also play a pivotal role in amplifying the voice and the will of the people in our part of the world. I have been a staunch advocate of this transformation. Seychelles has already given its commitment, and I urge all of us to make this happen here in Malawi at this session. Our region must stand strong and unified to address the current challenges before us. Having access to the vaccine is a basic human right, and as long as Africa remains deprived of this vital resource, battling the COVID-19 pandemic will be futile. In the context of globalization, our economies are interdependent, and the restriction on economic activities because of COVID-19 in one country most certainly impacts economic activities in other parts of the world. For this reason, I join in the call to countries having a surplus of vaccines to share them with others which are having difficulty accessing the supply of these vaccines. The hoarding of vaccines serves no purpose, but only the narrow, selfish, and misguided interests. To overcome the plethora of challenges caused by the pandemic and to build back better, trade has to be the cornerstone of our economic cooperation. It has been estimated by the World Bank that the African Continental Free Trade Agreement will boost regional income by 7%, or to the value of around $450 billion. In this regard, I am pleased to announce to this summit that Seychelles is the latest SADC member to ratify the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Being an import-dependent country, the agreement will be a positive tool to help us achieve our objectives, tackle inflation, and lower the cost of living for our people. Mr. Chair, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the fate, indeed the very survival of small island developing states has always been intertwined with the ocean. Seychelles has always attached immense importance to the ocean. Our people have a direct dependence on the ocean resources for their identity, sustenance, and livelihood. Our traditional economic pillars, being tourism and fisheries, depend on the ocean. With our tourism sector brought to its knees in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, we are forced to give greater attention to the ocean in ways which will yield greater benefits and minimize the risks to the ocean, an ocean which is already under pressure from overfishing, illegal fishing, threats to maritime safety, and the impacts of climate change. Given that most of our states have a coastline, I call on all of us to give greater importance in the protection of our seas and oceans, as was celebrated by the African Union recently. As diligent members of our community, it is incumbent upon us to take bold and innovative actions to achieve our goals of sustainable development, alleviating poverty, and enhancing the standard and quality of life of the people of Southern Africa through regional integration. We, the member states, have invested a lot of resources in SADC, and we are working tirelessly towards ensuring that the multilateral system as a whole is fair, transparent, and efficient. We believe that working in the interest of peace and stability means striving for a more balanced and fairer system founded on true dialogue between all member states. We must never lose sight of these principles. In conclusion, may I once again thank you, my fellow heads of state and government, for your kind messages upon my election and for your warm welcome in your midst. May the Almighty bless the SADC region and our dearest African continent. I thank you.
Your Excellencies, that was His Excellency Wava Ramankarawani, President of the Republic of Seychelles, delivering his maiden speech. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I inform that all these speeches are going to be posted on our YouTube page so that people can access them. The next maiden speech will be delivered by Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, President of the United Republic of Tanzania. Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan is the 60th and first woman to be president of the United Republic of Tanzania, and indeed first woman to be president in East Africa. Your Excellencies, I'm therefore honored to invite Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, President of the United Republic of Tanzania, to deliver her maiden speech at this 41st SADC Summit of Heads of State and Government. Your Excellency, Madam.
Mheshimiwa Filipe Nyusi, Rais wa Jamhuri ya Msumbiji na mwenyekiti wa SADC, Mheshimiwa Lazarus Chakwera, Rais wa Jamhuri ya Malawi, mwenyekiti wa mkutano huu na mwenyekiti ajaye wa SADC, Waheshimiwa wakuu wa nchi na serikali mliopo, Waheshimiwa wakilishi na wakuu wa nchi mliopo, mwenyekiti wa baraza la mawaziri la SADC pamoja na mawaziri wengine mliopo, Dr. Stergomena Tax, katibu mtendaji wa SADC, ndugu makatibu wakuu na maafisa waandamizi mliopo, waheshimiwa mabalozi na wakilishi wa taasisi za kimataifa mnaofuatilia mkutano huu, wageni waalikwa, wanahabari, mabibi na mabwana. Ni heshima kubwa kwangu kupata fursa hii adimu na adhimu ya kuzungumza kwenye mkutano wa wakuu wa nchi na serikali wa Jumuiya ya Maendeleo Kusini mwa Afrika, yani SADC. Leo ni mara yangu ya kwanza kuzungumza mbele ya wakuu wa nchi na serikali wa SADC, lakini pia nilibahatika kuzungumza wakati wa mkutano maalumu wa SADC uliofanyika Maputo, Msumbiji mwezi Juni mwaka huu. Lakini pia ni mara kadhaa niliwahi kuzungumza mbele ya wakuu wa nchi na serikali wa SADC wakati nikiwa makamu wa rais. Hata hivyo, leo najitambulisha kwenu rasmi wakuu wa nchi nikiwa rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. Kama mnavyofahamu, tarehe 17 Machi mwaka huu nchi yetu iliondokewa na kiongozi wetu mpendwa hayati Dr. John Pombe Magufuli. Kwa msingi huo, naomba kutumia fursa hii kwa niaba ya serikali na wananchi wa Tanzania wote kutoa shukrani nyingi kwenu wakuu wa nchi na serikali wa Jumuiya ya SADC kwa mshikamano mkubwa mliotuonesha wakati taifa letu likipita katika kipindi kigumu katika historia yetu. Wengi wenu mlikuja kuungana nasi pale Dodoma kwenye mazishi ya kitaifa. Tunawashukuru sana kwa jinsi mlivyotufariji kwenye msiba ule mkubwa. Nasi wa Tanzania tunatoa pole kwa viongozi wa nchi na wafanyakazi wa taasisi yetu ya SADC waliotangulia mbele ya haki. Mwenyezi Mungu hapumzishe roho zao mahali pema peponi. Amin. Napenda pia kutumia fursa hii kwa shukuru kwa jinsi mlivyonishika mkono na kunipa moyo. Kwa hakika maneno yenu yalinipa ujasiri na kuniongezea kujiamini. Nawashukuru sana kaka zangu kwa mshikamano na ushirikiano mkubwa mliouonesha, ambao umedhihirisha kuwa sisi ni familia moja na hatuna budi kuendeleza mshikamano huo. Waheshimiwa wakuu wa nchi na serikali, napenda pia kutumia fursa hii kuungana na wote walionitangulia kuzungumza kwa shukuru wenyeji wetu, Mheshimiwa Rais Chakwera, serikali pamoja na wananchi wa Malawi kwa mapokezi na ukarimu wao mkubwa waliotuonesha tangu tumewasili ndani ya jiji hili la Lilongwe. Tunawapongeza pia kwa maandalizi mazuri ya mkutano huu. Hongereni sana. Binafsi nimefarijika sana kutoa hotuba yangu ya kujitambulisha kwa wakuu wa nchi na serikali nikiwa hapa Malawi. Nimefurahi kwa sababu kwa Watanzania wengi Malawi ni nyumbani, na kwa Wamalawi wengi Tanzania ni nyumbani. Kwa hiyo mimi leo nipo hapa nyumbani. Sababu nyingine iliyonifanya nifurahi kutoa hotuba yangu ya kujitambulisha hapa Malawi ni kwamba Malawi ndio taifa la kwanza ndani ya ukanda wetu wa SADC kuwa na rais mwanamke. Hivyo basi naamini kwa kujitambulisha hapa naongeza msukumo kwa wanawake wengi zaidi kujiamini na kuhamasika kushiriki kwenye vyombo vya kufanya maamuzi. Lakini leo pia nimesikia historia nyingine ya Malawi kwa wanawake, kwamba katibu mtendaji wetu wa Jumuiya ya SADC pamoja na wengine wote wakati anachukua madaraka hayo yalifanyika hapa Malawi, lakini wakati anaachia inafanyika hapa Malawi. Hii ina maana kwamba Malawi ni nchi yenye baraka kwa wanawake. Asanteni sana wa Malawi. Na hapa nataka kuwasihi kaka zangu wa ukanda huu wa SADC, tuendelee kushirikiana katika kuendeleza jitihada za kuwainua na kuwawezesha kiuchumi na kisiasa wanawake kwenye nchi zetu. Ninaleta kwenu ombi hili kwa sababu katika mkutano wa Generation Equality uliofanyika hivi karibuni nchini Ufaransa, mkutano ule ulinichagua kusimamia au kufanyia kazi haki za wanawake kiuchumi katika eneo hili la kusini mwa Afrika. Hivyo basi nategemea nchi zetu zitashirikiana vyema na timu yangu ya wataalamu katika utekelezaji wa jukumu hili. Waheshimiwa wakuu wa nchi na serikali, ni ukweli usiopingika kwa jumuiya yetu imetoka mbali, na katika safari yake imepitia milima na mabonde. Mwaka jana jumuiya imetimiza miaka 40 tangu kuanzishwa kwake mwaka 1980. Katika kipindi hicho yapo mafanikio mengi yamepatikana na mengine ni makubwa. Sio tu kwamba nchi zetu zote zipo huru, lakini pia idadi ya nchi wanachama imeongezeka kutoka 7 hadi 16. Vile vile ukanda wetu unasifika kwa hali ya amani na usalama barani Afrika, ingawa kuna migogoro michache inayojitokeza tunayoendelea kuishughulikia. Baada ya masuala ya demokrasia ikiwemo utaratibu wa kubadilishana uongozi unazidi kushamiri ndani ya eneo letu. Mfano mzuri ni kitendo alichoonyesha ndugu zetu wa Zambia baada ya uchaguzi kumalizika. Mwingine alishinda, lakini kwa salama wanakwenda kupokezana majukumu. Ndugu zangu, tukizungumzia suala la ukuaji kwa uchumi, tumesikia takwimu za kuimarika kwa uchumi, lakini pia utulivu wa mifumuko ya bei na kukua kwa biashara ndani ya ukanda wetu wa SADC. Waheshimiwa viongozi, mabibi na mabwana, pamoja na mafanikio makubwa yaliyopatikana, hatupaswi kuridhika kwa kuwa bado tunakabiliwa na changamoto nyingi, ikiwemo kuendelea kwa hali ya umaskini, kasi ndogo ya ukuaji uchumi, tatizo la ukosefu wa ajira, magonjwa, athari za mabadiliko ya tabia nchi, na hali kadhalika uwepo wa matishio mapya ya usalama ikiwemo ugaidi, usambazaji wa silaha na uhalifu wa kimataifa. Changamoto nyingine zinazohusu uhaba na ubovu wa miundombinu na ukosefu wa ujuzi na stadi za kazi kwa wananchi wetu. Jukumu la kutatua changamoto hizo tulizo nazo si la wengine, bali ni sisi tuliopewa dhamana ya kuongoza kwa kushirikiana na wananchi wetu. Hivyo basi hatuna budi tushirikiane. Kwa msingi huo, nikiwa mwanachama mpya kwenye familia hii, nataka niahidi kuwa Tanzania itaendelea kuwa mwanachama mwaminifu na mwadilifu wa jumuiya hii. Tutaendelea kushirikiana na nchi zote wanachama katika kusukuma mbele ajenda ya utangamano, kushughulikia changamoto nilizozitaja, na pia kutekeleza mipango na mikakati mbalimbali ya maendeleo ikiwemo SADC Vision 2050, the Regional Indicative Strategic Development Plan, na pia the SADC Industrialization Strategy and Roadmap. Tanzania ni miongoni mwa waasisi wa jumuiya hii. Tumeshiriki katika kuanzisha, hivyo tunatambua umuhimu na manufaa yake. Kwa maana hiyo, Tanzania mlioizoea itaendelea kuwa mshiriki mwema na wa kutegemewa katika jumuiya yetu. Waheshimiwa wakuu wa nchi na serikali, kama mnavyofahamu, mkutano huu unafanyika wakati dunia na jumuiya yetu inaendelea kukabiliwa na janga kubwa la ugonjwa wa COVID-19. Janga hili, mbali na kuteteresha mifumo yetu ya afya, limekatisha uhai wa watu wengi, na kila siku takwimu za maambukizi mapya na vifo zimekwenda kuongezeka. Njia moja kubwa kukabiliana na ugonjwa huu ni kuhakikisha wananchi wetu wanapata chanjo. Sisi Waswahili tunasema kinga ni bora kuliko tiba. Nitumie jukwaa hili kuwashukuru wadau wa huduma za afya na maendeleo kwa misaada ya chanjo wanayotupatia, kwa kuwa na chanjo kunapunguza athari ya maumivu, lakini pia kupunguza vifo vinavyotokana na janga hili. Hivyo basi mahitaji ya chanjo bado ni makubwa, na hatuna budi kuendelea kuongeza jitihada katika upatikanaji wa chanjo, na pia kuzishawishi kampuni zinazozalisha chanjo kuridhia kutoa vibali na teknolojia ili kuruhusu chanjo hizo kuzalishwa sehemu nyingine duniani ili kukidhi mahitaji yaliyopo. Nchi zetu pia hazina budi kuendelea kushirikiana katika kujengeana uwezo, sio tu wa kuzalisha chanjo bali pia dawa, vifaa tiba na vitendanishi, kama alivyoeleza dada yetu Vero Songwe wakati akitoa hotuba yake. Waheshimiwa wakuu wa nchi na serikali, janga la COVID limetuathiri pia kiuchumi. Takwimu zilizopo kwa mwaka 2020 zinaonesha kushuka kwa uchumi, lakini pia kupanda kwa mfumuko wa bei na kuweko kwa kiwango cha deni la taifa kikubwa kinachokinzana na mapato ya mataifa yetu. Hali hii imesababisha nchi nyingi kushindwa kuhimili kulipa madeni yao ya nje. Hivyo basi hatuna budi kushirikiana na kuwa na sauti moja katika kuziomba nchi tajiri na taasisi za fedha za kimataifa kuendelea kutoa misamaha au kurefusha muda wa ulipaji wa madeni kwa nchi zinazoendelea mpaka pale janga hili la COVID litakapomalizika. Kuna umuhimu pia kuiwezesha sekta binafsi kwa kuwa nao pia wameathirika. Waheshimiwa wakuu wa nchi, hakuna janga linalokuja duniani bila kuwa na fursa. Niombe sana tutumie fursa zilizokuja na janga hili la COVID. Na nikisema hivyo, niseme nimefurahishwa sana na kauli mbiu ya mkutano huu inayosema bolstering productive capacity in the face of COVID-19 pandemic for inclusive, sustainable economic and industrial transformation. Kauli mbiu hii inadhihirisha kuwa licha ya mlipuko wa janga hili, tunayo nafasi ya kukuza chumi zetu endapo tutaongeza uzalishaji kwenye sekta mbalimbali za viwanda na kilimo. Waheshimiwa wakuu wa nchi, mabibi na mabwana, nimepewa fursa ya kusalimia na kujitambulisha. Mengi tutaendelea kujadiliana kwenye mikutano ijayo na pia wakati tutakapotembeleana. Kwa hiyo ninapoelekea kuhitimisha salamu zangu, napenda niungane na walionitangulia kumpongeza mwenyekiti aliyemaliza muda wake, kaka yangu Mheshimiwa Rais Filipe Jacinto Nyusi, Rais wa Msumbiji, kwa kazi kubwa na nzuri ya kuongoza jumuiya yetu katika kipindi cha mwaka mmoja uliopita, licha ya kuwepo kwa changamoto ya mlipuko wa COVID-19. Nampongeza pia kaka yangu Mheshimiwa Dr. Lazarus Chakwera wa Malawi kwa kuchaguliwa kwa mwenyekiti mpya wa jumuiya yetu. Halikadhalika nampongeza mgeni mwenzangu Mheshimiwa Rais Wavel Ramkalawan wa Seychelles kwa kuaminiwa na wananchi kwa kiongozi wa taifa hilo. Kwa pamoja nyote na waahidi ushirikiano mkubwa. Nihitimishe kwa kuishukuru na kuipongeza Sekretariat ya SADC kwa maandalizi mazuri ya mkutano huu. Kwa namna ya pekee namshukuru na kumpongeza sana Katibu Mtendaji wa SADC ambaye anamaliza muda wake, Dr. Segomena Tax, kwa kazi nzuri aliyoifanya kwenye jumuiya yetu kwa kipindi cha uongozi wake, licha ya kuwepo kwa changamoto nyingi zilizojitokeza. Tunakupongeza sana na kutakia kila laheri katika majukumu mengine utakayopangiwa. Tanzania inakupongeza na kukushukuru sana kwa kutuwakilisha vyema na kulinda heshima tuliyopewa na wenzetu. Na katika hilo nataka kuiarifu hadhira hii kuwa tayari nimeshampangia majukumu mengine Dr. Tax, hivyo atakaporejea nyumbani ataendelea kuanza kuyatumikia. Tunataka kuendelea kutumia maarifa, ujuzi na uzoefu alioupata akiwa ndani ya taasisi ya SADC. Mwisho lakini sio kwa umuhimu, namwahidi Katibu Mtendaji mpya atakayechaguliwa kwamba Tanzania itampa ushirikiano wa kutosha na katika kutekeleza majukumu yake ya kusimamia au kusukuma mbele gurudumu la maendeleo kwenye jumuiya yetu. Baada ya kusema hayo, namwomba Mungu aibariki Afrika na abariki jumuiya yetu ya SADC. Muito obrigado. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Zikomo kwa mbili. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much. Asante sana, Your Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, President of the United Republic of Tanzania, for delivering your maiden speech. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, each year the Summit of Heads of State and Government does recognize the winners of the SADC Media Awards and also winners of the SADC Secondary School S competition. These competitions were established in 1996 to promote regional cooperation and integration. Your Excellencies, this year, because of the challenges posed by COVID-19, the winners of the SADC Media Awards and SADC Secondary School Essay Competition did not come to attend this 41st SADC Summit of Heads of State and Government. We therefore prepared a video announcing the winners of the SADC Media Awards, which are in 4 categories: print, photo, radio, and television. We also have 3 winners of the Secondary School Essay Competition. Your Excellencies, allow me to invite colleagues to play a video which is announcing the winners of these 2 competitions, the 2021 SADC Media Awards and the 2021 SADC Secondary School Essay Competition. Thank you, Your Excellencies.
The SADC Secretariat is pleased to announce the winners of the 2021 SADC Media Awards and Secondary School Essay Competition. In the 2021 Secondary School Essay Competition, learners were given a topic on which to write an essay of 1,200 words. The The topic for the 2021 SADC Secondary School Essay Competition was how has SADC contributed to peace and security of the region in the last 40 years and how can SADC consolidate peace going forward? The winners of the 2021 Secondary School Essay Competition are: the third prize of the $750 goes to Ricky Ngulube from the Republic of Zambia. The second prize of $1,000 goes to Tholang Tejani from the Kingdom of Lesotho. Lin Yong Run from the Republic of Mauritius is the overall winner of the 2021 Secondary School Essay Competition, and she goes away with a prize of $1,500. In the 2021 SADC Media Awards, 25 journalists qualified for the regional competition. The following are the winners in the photo, print, television, radio journalism categories. In the print journalism category, the second prize of $1,000 goes to Mr. Shabani Tamani from the Republic of Botswana. Mr. Jose Luis Mendoza from the Republic of Angola is the first prize winner and goes away with a prize of $2,500. In the television journalism category, the second prize of $1,000 goes to Mr. Emmanuel Munyarazi Chamalimba from the Republic of Zimbabwe. Ms. Jabulila Audrey Binauli from the Republic of Malawi is the first prize winner and goes away with a prize of $2,500. In the radio journalism category, the second prize of $1,000 goes to Ms. Valeria Gabriel Palali from the Mr. Horacio Romau from the Republic of Mozambique is the first prize winner and receives the prize of $2,500. In the photojournalism category, the second prize of $1,000 goes to Mr. Patrick Olari from the Republic of South Africa. Mr. Hasisiwe Murakum from the Republic of Botswana is the first prize winner and receives the prize of $2,500. Congratulations to all the winners for winning the 2021 SADC Media Awards and Secondary School Essay Competition for promoting SADC regional integration, cooperation, and development.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. We are now reaching the climax of the opening session of the 41st SADC Summit of Heads of State and Government. At this point, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my singular honor to invite His Excellency Filippo Jacinto, President of the Republic of Mozambique and Chairperson of SADC, to deliver his keynote address, after which we are going to witness the ceremonial handover of the SADC chairship to the incoming chairperson, His Excellency Dr. Lazarus Makafe Chakwera.
Sua Excelência Dr. Lazarus Makafe Chakwera, Presidente da República do Malawi e próximo Presidente da SADC, Suas Excelências, Chefes de Estado, de Governo, dos Estados-membros da SADC, Member States, Sua Excelência Doutora, Your Excellency Tax, the Executive Secretary of SADC, Honorable Ministers, minhas senhoras e meus senhores. Em primeiro lugar, gostaria de manifestar, em nome da delegação que me acompanha, e em meu nome próprio, a nossa gratidão ao povo e governo da República do Malawi pela calorosa recepção e habitual hospitalidade que desde a nossa chegada a esta jovem e bela cidade, desde excelentes condições
beautiful city of Lilongwe and for the excellent facilities put
ao passarmos o testemunho da nossa presidência à República do Malawi,
hand over our chairpersonship to the Republic of Malawi. We do so
que une os nossos povos
as the bonds of brotherhood that unite was demonstrated number of acts on a daily basis, from the family exchanges, trade relations, sharing of resources, to build cross-border infrastructure that make our two nations mutually dependent for their prosperity and thus contributing to the deepening and success of regional integration. At this historical junction, when Malawi takes over the baton of the SADC chairpersonship, we stand fully available in body and soul to collaborate for its success in the same manner that we contributed to the success of our chairmanship, whether within the SADC tracker or either through the readily availability of President Chakwera to advise and assist Mozambique whenever necessary. In the last of our tenure, we have the humility and the sense of mission accomplished. Nevertheless, we are constrained to record once again our sense of deep regret for the loss of valuable comrades and friends who in one way or another gave us the support throughout this tenure. We would therefore like to reiterate our heartfelt gratitude to the Republic, the United Republic of Tanzania, the Republic of Zambia, the Republic of Zimbabwe, and the Kingdom of Eswatini for the untimely passing of important leaders in the region, including the founders of SADC, and the reference in the epic and exciting struggle for the organization and development of the respective countries, the continent, and the other leaders who have left us. We would also like to express our grief towards all family members who have lost their loved ones due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which continues to sow death in our region, the continent, and the world in general. Let me also take this opportunity to congratulate the people and government of Zambia on the recent holding of peaceful and successful elections, a reflection of our
fidelidade aos princípios de democracia como via para edificar o futuro risonho para os nossos povos.
For our
Excelências,
Excellencies,
quando em agosto
in August 2020,
assumimos a liderança da organização,
we assumed the leadership of the organization. We promised to adopt a collegial style of engagement of member states in decision-making process, exercising a result-oriented chairpersonship in the areas of public health, resilience to the effects of climate change, private sector involvement, and promotion of SADC as an investment destination, peace and security, combating tourism, infrastructure, and food security, inspired by the 4 decades of building SADC under the theme SADC 40 years, building peace and security, promoting development and resilience in the face of global challenges. As we come to the end of our chairmanship, allow me to comment on some topics that we have chosen as the legacy of our mandate. Public health. The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic is still present and visible through the daily tragedy of new mutations, the increasing number of infections and deaths, as well as the slow
slowdown and possibly recession in national, regional, and global economies. The public health systems are reaching critical levels of saturation in their capacity to provide services to all. At a time when there is evidence that the region is facing a third wave of the pandemic, more morbid and lethal. According to the recent data from the World Health Organization, the African continent has recorded since the outbreak of the pandemic in late 2019 and early 2020 more than 6 million infections and 160,000 deaths, of which more than 20 million infections, or rather 33%, and more than 88,000 deaths, in other words 55%, are in the Southern Africa region. We would like to leave as recommendation massive testing in urban and community areas, greater coordination in the enforcement of the epidemiological control measures, accelerating the acquisition of vaccines and expanding immunization programs, appeal to cooperating partners for financial support and debt relief, waiver of intellectual property rights for technology transfer, the promotion of investment in the pharmaceutical sector, and vaccine manufacturing within the region. During our tenure, Chair, through the technical committee plus the Ministers of Health, our interventions were guided by the need to strike a balance between the restrictive protection measures and the need to keep exchanges between countries of the region open. Our urgency was to remain seized with the regional integration program and promote attitudes and methods of working that induce resilience. In this context, we prioritize the coordination of the response to the COVID-19 pandemic and the procurement and distribution of vaccines, as well as measures to prevent the collapse of health systems with macroeconomic and fiscal initiatives meant to revive the productive section at national and regional level, with the cautious reopening of the movement of people and goods within the SADC space. It was also incumbent to the technical committee plus the SADC ministers have to propose containment measures and guidelines on the methods and ways of working in SADC, which required the reconfiguration of all face-to-face events in SADC, in addition to the need for coordination of decisions of health nature, measures for movement and travel within the SADC space, and the standardization of epidemiological testing and control methods in SADC member states. In the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, no one will be saved until everyone is safe. Resilience to the effects of climate change. Over the past decade, all 16 SADC member states have been in one way or another affected by natural disasters that have resulted in the destruction of infrastructure, prolonged disruption of essential services, complete stoppage of economic activity, food insecurity, and sometimes in the loss of lives and the livelihood of entire communities. The devastating effect of cyclones Idai and Kenneth in 2019 are still visible today. Power transmission lines, bridges, schools, hospitals, communication towers, entire cities had to be rebuilt in Mozambique, Malawi, and Zimbabwe in an environment of scarcity of resources and constraint of our international partners who are also grappling with their own crisis. Therefore, the launch of on the 21st of June 2021 in Akala of the SADC Emergency and Humanitarian Operations Center, was of paramount importance, an act which was honored by the gracious presence of His Excellency Dr. Mokwesi Masisi, President of the Republic of Botswana, and outgoing chairperson of the SADC organ on policy, defense, and security cooperation, to whom we are very grateful. SADC cannot indulge in waiting for the fulfillment of the commitments made under the Paris Agreement. Global temperatures will continue to rise. In the coming decades, above 2 degrees Celsius of the pre-industrial levels, and the resulting natural phenomena and disaster will be even more frequent and more severe. Our region has to anticipate and seek within itself solutions for mitigation and adaptation, response and preparedness. Hence, we recommend the full use of the potential of the center installed in Akala, a strategically favorable location. It is our conviction that with the launch of the SADC, the bases are created for the rapid completion of the legal formalities for each operationalization, namely the signing of the headquarters agreement between Mozambique and the SADC Secretariat, as well as the memorandum of understanding between member states, private sector involvement, and marking of SADC as an investment destination. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we define it as one of the priorities of our presidency, the launch of the first SADC Business Forum, materializing the regional aim of attaching fair relevance to the involvement of the business community in the implementation of the SADC development agenda and the need to market the region as a destination for investment. It was in this regard that we held the first edition of the SADC Business Forum and the SADC Expo on the 22nd and 23rd of June 2021 in Maputo, on the sidelines of the extraordinary summit of SADC heads of state and government under the theme SADC Private and Public Sector Dialogue, Entrepreneurship, Investment, and Doing Business in the SADC region. The first edition of the SADC Business Forum featured 7 thematic panels and had the presence of 150 guests and 900 and 708 virtual participants representing 12 SADC member countries, national and regional business associations, as well as representatives of international cooperation partners. This regional event provided a unique opportunity to project in a sustainable way the competitive and productive assets and the potential of SADC member countries within the framework of each structural development agenda. The forum also enabled the exposure of the SADC Southern African region at the international level as a productive and commercial geostrategic bloc and platform. The edition of the Business Forum, in addition to being an opportunity for the dissemination of regional potential and establishment of partnerships, proved to be a concrete way capable of attracting strategic partnership and constituting a platform for dialogue between SADC and the private sector. We are confident that the incoming chairperson, in the person of His Excellency President Lazarus Chakwera, the guest of honor at the first business forum, will continue to consolidate these initiatives. Peace and security, fight on terrorism. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, peace and security constitute one of the foundations of the regional integration process, as its role in enabling the promotion of cooperation, social and economic development aimed at fostering progress and well-being of the peoples of the region is recognized. It is in this regard that we have defined the eradication of terrorism and
violent extremism in the region as a strategic priority, focusing on a holistic approach and bilateral and multilateral synergies. In this effort, Mozambique counts on the support of countries in the region and elsewhere, with interventions that focus on building the capacity of the defense and security forces to restore peace, leaving no room for the establishment of elements of violent extremism and terrorism in the region. The SADC Extraordinary Summit held in Maputo on the 23rd of June authorized the deployment of the SADC standby force and mission in the Republic of Mozambique, which may be complemented by other support raised by Mozambique and a bilateral arrangement to achieve success in the fight against terrorism. We congratulate countries of the region for the brotherhood and prompt solidarity demonstrated by the deployment of SADC standby force capabilities in the spirit of the SADC Mutual Defense Pact, which was launched on the 9th of August 2021 in Pemba City, Cabo Delgado province. The deployment of this mission was the culmination of a coordinated action between our countries and close coordination with the chair of the SADC organ on politics, defense, and security cooperation. We are once again to thank President Sisi, who witnessed the launching of this deployment. We are aware of the need to complement this military intervention with the immediate humanitarian assistance and investment in development in the medium and long term, along with the prevention and the awareness of citizens against this scourge. We will keep Your Excellencies abreast of the of this mission and assure you that the level of coordination and relationship with our defense and security forces and the local people is high. I'll come back to this issue during our closed door session. Food security. Mozambique has identified food and nutrition security in the region as another priority action of its mandate and set to work towards the eradication of hunger and to promote the transformation of the agrarian sector into a source of income for our populations, taking advantage of the immense natural resource potential. According to the Regional Vulnerability Assessment and Analysis Report of 21st March 2021, approximately 51 million people in the region, that is 15% of people, live in a situation of food and nutrition insecurity, including 8.4 million children. This situation is exacerbated by a 2020-21 agricultural season characterized by severe droughts, floods, cyclones, in addition to the macroeconomic shocks resulting from the pandemic. On the other hand, some member states in the region were affected by the resurgence of the migratory pest in 2020. In order to address this situation, being at risk of malnutrition and chronic poverty, in November 2020, virtual format, a ceremony, the regional appeal on an appeal to cooperating partners to make resources available to improve food security, mitigate the negative impact of pests, food security. Our chairmanship
We hosted and continue to leverage activities in important sectors of education, science, and technology and innovation, among others, that enable us to make progress in the regional integration agenda, recognizing that science, technology, and innovation are cross-cutting areas and play a vital role in the future development trajectory of SADC towards the so-called fourth revolution tomorrow. Other achievements and challenges. We also rejoice for the revitalization of the culture sector in line with the decision of the SADC Council of Ministers in March 2021. SADC is once again area for the preservation of region's identity and cultural and historical heritage that makes SADC a distinct community. On the other hand, we believe that these achievements, in addition to efforts to transform the SADC parliamentary reform into the SADC parliament, an item of the agenda of this summit, will bring our peoples closer to regional institutions, engaging them in the implementation of the priorities of the revised regional indicative strategic development plan, RISDIP 2020-2030, whose operationalization and implementation 2021. This is yet another milestone that we reach with effort and the contribution by all. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the fact that our term as SADC chairperson has come to an end cannot be understood as Mozambique's withdrawal from SADC activities, or that SADC is no longer part of our foreign policy priorities. On the contrary, we will continue not only as part of the SADC Troika, but also to fulfill our obligation as members of SADC, and most importantly because Mozambique is committed to representing SADC in other international fora, such as the Peace and Security Council of the African Union, of which we are members, and of the United Nations Security Council, for whose vacancy of non-permanent member Mozambique has applied on behalf of the region, with elections scheduled for 2021 for the term of 2023-2024. The SADC chair is a collective effort. In this connection, we extend our sincere thanks to the senior officials, the Council of Ministers, the various SADC committees of ministers, and my peers, particularly the outgoing chairperson of the SADC organ, and members of the Double Troika, for the excellent collaboration without which we would have not achieved the outcomes we have just shared. Distinguished members, the frequent interaction that we have at the Troika, at the Double Troika, this is something that we have to recognize and which we are very thankful. Last but not least, we would like to thank the SADC Secretariat team led by our tireless Executive Secretary, Dr. Strogman Lawrence Tax, whose term of which is concurrently coming to an end. To the incoming chairperson of SADC, that is the Republic of Malawi, well led by my brother and unavoidable neighbor, Dr. Lazarus McCarthy Shekwera, as well as the incoming Executive Secretary of SADC. We would like to wish them success and once again reassure them of our government's full willingness to support the implementation of the priorities identified for this demanding but prestigious assignment of leading such an active organization as our SADC. Please accept our sincere apologies. All those whom we may have hurt during or while chairing or hosting various events, we assure you that this was not intentional. We remain open-hearted in the great SADC family. Thank you very much. Muito obrigado. Merci beaucoup. Asante sana. Malawi. Zika Ukumbi. Thank you.
thank you very much, Your Excellency, President Filipe Jacinto Nyusi, President of the Republic of Mozambique and Chairperson of the SADC. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are going to now witness the handover ceremony of the chairpersonship from His Excellency Filipe Jacinto Nyusi, President of the Republic of Mozambique, to the incoming chairperson, His Excellency Dr. Lazarus McCarthy Chakwera. What will happen now is that the outgoing chairperson is going to hand over a badge, and later on is going to hand over a gavel, which are instruments that the chairperson of SADC uses when he or she presides over the meeting of heads of state and government. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite His Excellency Filipe Jacinto Nyusi to come forward, and at the same time allow me to invite His Excellency Dr. Lazarus McCarthy Chakwera, and also allow me to invite Her Excellency Dr. Stegomena Lawrence Tax to facilitate the handover of the chairpersonship.
Ndetu zomwe zikuchitika pakali pano ndizoti wapampando wa bungwe limeneli la SADC, President Filipe Nyusi wa ku Mozambique tsopano akupereka udindo umenewu wa wapampando wa bungwe limeneli la SADC kwa mtsogoleri wa dziko lino Dr. Lazarus Chakwera. Ndetu mwambo wake ndoti President Filipe Nyusi akupereka baji umene tsopano ndikuona kuti akuveka mtsogoleri wa dziko lino umuyika pa jaketi yake baji imeneyi kusonyeza kuti akupereka udindo umenewu wa pampando wa bungwe la SADC kwa President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera. Ndipo tu amene akuthandizira ndi mlembi
Bibiana kijiti hicho cha wenyekiti wa jumuiya hiyo ya maendeleo ya kusini mwa Afrika SADC ikiendelea hapo. Rais huyo wa Malawi ndo kashakabidhiwa kijiti hicho kutoka kwa rais wa Msumbiji Filipe Nyusi. Naona pia na salamu pale, na salamu hiyo sasa hivi ndio imezoeleka Anuari. Ni moja ya watu kujihami, kuchukua tahadhari ya uviko. Watu wanapeana kama mimi na wewe hapa.
Ni utamaduni ambao kama unavyokumbuka Rais Filipe Nyusi ambaye leo anakabidhi, yeye alikabidhiwa na hayati Dr. John Paul Magufuli katika mkutano wa 39 uliofanyika jijini Dar es Salaam. Yeye alimkabidhi, Magufuli alikabidhiwa na rais wa Namibia wakati huo, lakini sasa yeye naye hayati akamkabidhi Filipe Nyusi katika mkutano ambao walikutana kwa njia, niseme ulifanyika kwa njia ya televisheni ya kimtandao. Sasa leo anamkabidhi mwenyeji wake. Labda tumsikilize anachokiozungumza mara baada ya kukabidhiwa wenyekiti. Sasa
accepting the responsibility to be the chair. Let's cross over again.
Stegomena Lawrence Tax, SADC Executive Secretary, no protocols observed. 8 years ago, Her Excellency Dr. Joyce Mtila Banda, former President of the Republic of Malawi, had the honor of assuming the rotating chairship of the Southern African Development Community, SADC, from His Excellency Armando Emilio Guebuza, former President of the Republic of Mozambique. By God's providence, I am honored and humbled this day to take over the mantle of leadership of SADC from my dear brother, His Excellency Filippo Jacinto Nyusi, President of the Republic of Mozambique, an outgoing chairperson of SADC, following a very productive tenure of office. Muito obrigado. On behalf of the government and people of the Republic of Malawi, and on my own behalf, I'd like to express my sincere appreciation to my dear brother, His Excellency President Filippo Jacinto Nyusi, the government and the people of the Republic of Mozambique for your leadership in the launch of two key documents for the region, the SADC Regional Indicated Strategic Development Plan, RISDP 2020-2030, and the SADC Vision 2050, as well as the establishment of the SADC Humanitarian and Emergency Operations Center, SHOC, and we will put these instruments to full and good use. Malawi's assumption of the SADC chairship comes in the context of COVID-19 pandemic and efforts to stop it in its tracks and restore social order. However, the inequalities and disparities accessing COVID-19 vaccines are seriously hindering efforts to save the lives of millions in the SADC region and must be tackled head-on. I therefore want to make a larger point to the rest of the global community. The inequalities and disparities we are seeing in the distribution and production of COVID-19 vaccines are symptomatic of an old geopolitical framework that is no longer working, no longer sustainable, and no longer acceptable. I'm referring to a framework that regards the world as an animal farm in which some nations are more equal than others. I'm referring to a framework that regards some nationalities as more special than others. I'm referring to a framework that regards some human lives as more worthy of saving than others. Our message to those nations that promote and perpetuate this framework is simple. You are using a tired and failed formula. African countries are full members of the global community, period. As such, for the sake of the dignity of all human beings everywhere, we as Africans have a moral duty to refuse to be treated as second-class citizens. We as Africans have a moral duty to refuse second-class status in the rules of engagement for participating in the global economy. So the time has come for us to work together to put the ratified African free or continental free trade area to full use until the economic rules that disadvantage our nations are rewritten. We as Africans have a moral duty to refuse second-class status in the restrictions we accept from outsiders for managing our own finances and resources. So the time has come for us to stand together in insisting that our Bretton Woods institutions reconfigure the terms and conditions they have imposed on us for decades, leaving us in deeper poverty than they found us. We, as Africans, have a moral duty to refuse second-class status in our participation in the United Nations decisions that affect the peace, stability, and sustainability of our world. So the time has come for us to insist that Africa must have at least one permanent seat on the UN Security Council. And now, as the world faces this global health crisis that has killed millions, torpedoed economies, and disrupted social order, we as Africans have a moral duty to reject second-class status in the distribution and production of COVID vaccines, vaccines invented and manufactured in labs where some of the scientists doing such work are Africans. So the time has come for us to insist that a vaccine that preserves and sustains a person's basic right to life belongs to all nations, no matter who discovered it. I repeat, treating African nations or nationals as second-class members of the global community is no longer acceptable. We do not accept it, and we will not accept it, and we must and cannot accept it. At a regional level like SADC, this means recognizing that our truest friends in this world are not those who are satisfied to see us continue in our poverty so that they can sustain their messianic complex as our benefactors and liberators. No. Our truest friends in this world are those who work side by side with us on increasing our productive capabilities and turning our economies into engines for sustainable growth. I am therefore honored to launch Malawi's proposed theme for the 2021-2022 SADC chairship, which is bolstering productive capabilities in the face of COVID-19 pandemic for sustained, inclusive economic and industrial transformation. It is our considered view that the SADC we want is untenable without leveling the playing field on COVID-19 pandemic, revitalizing the agricultural sector, enhancing value addition, facilitating trade, and simplifying rules of origin. The African Continental Free Trade Area has availed SADC the opportunity to become the breadbasket and export basket of Africa. But we must seize the moment. We must fully implement the SADC industrialization strategy and roadmap, SADC regional agricultural policy, and SADC regional infrastructure development master plan, among others. In line with the new SADC theme, the government of Malawi is currently implementing the Malawi 2063, a vision focused on 3 drivers toward middle income status for our economy: agricultural productivity and commercialization, industrialization, and urbanization. In this regard, one of Malawi's flagship projects is the Shire Valley Transformation Program, SVTP, for the period 2018 to 2031, valued at $563 million US. Its aim is increasing agricultural productivity and commercialization for targeted households in the Shire Valley and to improve the sustainable management and utilization of natural resources. The true potential of this project lies in the opportunities for private sector participation from member states with the wherewithal for value addition chains towards industrialization. Such initiatives also benefit greatly from annual SADC Industrialization Week, which facilitates business linkages and promotes trade opportunities between member states. These are the tools for regional integration I promise to push for during my tenure as chair. Because the time has come for us on a regional integration to turn talk into walk. That is why Malawi will ensure that the 5th SADC Industrialization Week is held here sometime this coming November to make this year's theme a reality. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, allow me to pay my profound tribute to my dear brother, His Excellency Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi, President of the Republic of Botswana, the outgoing chairperson of the SADC Organ on Politics, Defense and Security Council, for the commendable progress achieved in consolidating democratic principles of transparency and the rule of law, peace and security in the region during his term of office. No choice but to apply ourselves to sustaining the gains made to date, considering how critical this is to other multilateral agreements like the 2063 African Union Agenda, the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, the Vienna Program of Action for Landlocked Developing Countries for the decade 2014 to 2024. In assuming that SADC chairship, Malawi commits to ensuring that we push our regional goals as we represent the Southern Africa group at the AU Peace and Security Council, UN Human Rights Council, and provide leadership at the UN Least Developed Countries, LDCs. Excellencies, let me also take this opportunity to congratulate His Excellency Matamea Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa, and the incoming chairperson of the SADC Organ on Politics, Defense and Security Cooperation. I commit to work closely with Your Excellency to ensure sustained peace and security in the region. In conclusion, I give you all 3 assurances. 1, I assure you of my government's commitment to the ideals, values, and principles of SADC. 2, I assure you of my best efforts to steer the implementation of the SADC regional integration agenda. And lastly, I assure you of my enthusiasm to serve you by conducting the affairs of SADC with the determination required of your chair, an honor I hereby accept with great humility and joy. Long live SADC. Muito obrigado. Merci beaucoup. Asante sana. Ziko mwambiri. And thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency Dr. Lazarus Makathi Chakwera, President of the Republic of Malawi and the new Chairperson of SADC. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, including those that are watching us and following us on MBC TV, we have come to the end of the opening session of the 41st SADC Summit of Heads of State and Government. We are going, as a tradition, to have a family photo of the heads of state and government present here this morning, and we are going to ask our colleagues from the media to take their position on where the photo is going to be taken. Your Excellencies, the photo is going to be taken to my left, where we have set up to my left for the heads of state and government, and the protocol people are going to guide in terms of movement to the place where the photo is going to be taken, to make sure that the process is done in an orderly manner. Your Excellencies, it's time now for the photo. May I invite the high table to go and take the position at where it's going to be taken. Thank you, Your Excellencies. Thank you those who have been watching this program, these proceedings. Thank you very much. Asante sana.
amene akuwongolera zochitika pa mwambo umene wotsogolera msonkhano wa chaka chino wa bungwe la SADC. Iwo ndi Innocent Mbundula omwe ndi wofalitsa nkhani ku bungwe la SADC, ndipo iwo amapempha poyamba akuluakulu amene ali kutsogoloku kaya kuti ku high table kumeneko kunali mtsogoleri.
Well, that's how the closing ceremony, rather the opening ceremony of the SADC summit, for the first ordinary summit of the SADC heads of state and government, has gone on here in the capital Lilongwe. We've heard a number of speeches from certain presidents and the leaders in the SADC board. Just finishing his speech there was President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera. He was accepting the responsibility to be the chairperson of the SADC from now up to the next one. Only we heard from President Filipe Nyusi of Mozambique, who was handing over the chairmanship to our President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera. Among other things, President Chakwera says he will ensure that the agenda of SADC integration materializes under his leadership as chairperson. He also says it's time African countries come together so that their economies can begin to work properly, much countries outside Africa. So that's briefly what the president said when he accepted the chairmanship of the SADC. So as you can see in your picture now, the president and the leaders of Africa, particularly in the SADC region, are taking a group photo. It's called a family photo. So that's what is happening. After this, they will go into a closed session to discuss issues that are on the agenda. So the group photo has now been taken, and following this group photo, these leaders will go now into private discussions. So this is how the opening ceremony of the 41st Ordinary SADC Summit has gone on here in Lilongwe. Now I hand you over to our colleagues outside who are also following things that are happening there. Let's cross over to our colleagues who are outside this hall.
Naam, mtazamaji wa TVC1, kama umefungulia runinga yako, huo ni mkutano wa 41 wa Jumuiya ya Maendeleo ya Kusini mwa Afrika ambao unafanyika kwa siku mbili, na siku ya kwanza ndio imekamilika hivyo Anuari na tumewaona viongozi mbalimbali ambao ni wanachama wa jumuiya hiyo wametoa hotuba, akiwemo Rais Samia Suluhu Hassan, ikiwa ni mara yake ya kwanza kuhutubia katika mkutano huo mkubwa wa jumuiya hii ya SADC. Labda yapi ambayo yamekuvutia hasa katika hotuba ya Rais Samia?
Rais Samia amejitambulisha, na alichonivutia ni kwamba ameweka bayana kwamba yeye si mgeni wa SADC, wa Jumuiya ya Maendeleo Kusini mwa Afrika, kwa sababu alikuwa akishiriki mara kadhaa wakati alipokuwa akitumwa na hayati Dr. John Pombe Magufuli. Lakini pia ni mwanachama pia mpya, amesema hivyo kwa sababu yeye ni kiongozi hivi sasa wa nchi, na amejitambulisha wazi kabisa hivyo, lakini pia akisisitiza kwamba umuhimu wa Tanzania kushiriki katika kile ambacho SADC